Brandon, you're gonna send a message, and we're gonna get you online. A little background about Brandon while he's getting set up. Brandon's actually a current client. Brandon and I did our first deal last year. I was able to help him save about $15,000 to $20,000 in taxes on one deal. And the deal or the question that Brandon's asking about, I think, is related to that deal. And he texted me a few days ago and asked me the question. I was like, well, would you mind, asking on the show? Brandon's trying to get on. Let me just help him out with a link. Nova, could you put the link public? It's fine. Could you share the StreamYard link public? So I'm going to give you a little bit of background about Brandon's situation. So he purchased the property for $80,000 cash, and he did that so that he would spend money so that he didn't have to pay taxes. We'll get into taxes later, but basically, if you spend money as a business, you get to write it off. So he bought the property for $80,000 cash. We sold it to him. It was a property that we flipped. He was a client of mine, so something I do for my clients. I sold it to him below market value. I want to say, and this is where he'll have to share the details because it's been a while. I think the property's worth like $120,000 or $140,000. Just a couple of months later, we knew that going in. We sold it to him, understanding it was worth $120,000. So basically, by selling it to him for $80,000, he instantly made $40,000 in equity. So if he was to sell the property, he'd walk away with about $35,000 profit or $30,000 profit the next day. So now Brandon was asking, should he do a cash out refinance? And I wanted to kind of go over it with him live so that if you guys have questions or if you have property or if you're considering investing, then I can go ahead and share that information so you can pick up some of the details. So the way a cash out refinance works is typically the banks will let you pull out up to 80% of the equity. So we're going to try, I'll write out the numbers a little bit just so that you can keep them in your head. So if Brandon bought the house for $80,000 and is worth $140,000, he has $60,000 in equity. The bank will let him pull out 80%, right? So 8 times 6, 48. So Brandon now gets to walk away with $48,000 cash minus closing costs. So let's say $42,000. $42,000 cash. He has a tenant that pays all the bills. He makes profit, but let's say his profit goes away because he's pulling out full equity. But the tenant pays the mortgage, property tax, everything. So Brandon has somebody paying off his mortgage. And then he pulls out $40,000 cash, tax-free, just because of this strategy. So now he parked his 80, he saved taxes on that, and then he's going to be able to walk around with $40,000 cash. He could buy whatever he wants with that, tax-free, and he still has somebody paying off his mortgage. But I want to get the real numbers. Is that something you'd be interested in? Is anybody interested in learning how to do that and learning how to turn a little bit of money into a lot of money tax-free? So Google's giving Brandon a problem. So Brandon bought it for $75,000, $115,000. So there goes that $40,000 Brandon had. So Brandon's going to go and we're going to talk about it. And he's going to be able to pull out cash. And there's a ratio. Brandon, how much are you renting that place for right now? For $1,100. So there's two different ways that a bank will allow you to take out money. Let's see, Brandon, we got Brandon up. Will allow you to take out money. Peace, Diddy, what's going on?
What's up, brother? Hey, we here.
All right, thank you. You know how it goes. First show, you know it's gonna be something.
I know. We got to pull out the phone.
All right, no doubt. So you want to introduce yourself and tell people what you do professionally?
Oh, yes, sir. Okay. Yeah, I'm Brandon Farley. I work with one of your business partners, Julian Parentos. Been a realtor for like a year and a half, going about a 2 year mark. And ever since then, Julian had introduced me to Hussain, and from there we just went off.
Yeah. So Brandon sells real estate out here in Texas. So we'll make sure we're gonna drop his Instagram. So you make sure you go follow him if you need something. He's the guy to see to sell houses and buy houses and whatnot. So I basically gave him the background. I told him how we met and did and whatnot. So now interest rates. Interest rates are a little high right now, 7,
Mhm.
8%, something like that, give or take. How do you feel about borrowing at that rate?
Okay, first, I remember at the time when we was doing the deal, race was amazing. I think it was running at 2, 3. Everyone was refinancing and buying. By the time we got into, I guess that figuring out the loan, interest rates start rising up, and the market starts slowing up tremendously. So it's been slowing down with the real estate. A lot of buyers not been able to afford that house like they used to a couple months back. And same thing with investors. Investors kind of slowing down as well. So interest rates have been a big play, especially with cash flowing. Not too much of passive income because of that high cap of that interest rate. So it's
Right.
kind of hurting the people out here right now.
Right. So how do you feel about borrowing a loan if it was, let's say, 8%?
Uh, I'm for me, I just feel like the numbers work. Especially now since we done bought the house at such a discount price, we can have that high interest rate. And of course, once the level back out and a couple years later, of course, we can refinance for a better rate. But since we got that discount, I say 8% wasn't so bad.
Right.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna give you guys, see, Brandon and I have been working together for almost a year now. So he's kind of more comfortable with all of this because we've kind of worked through this. But
Yeah.
for people who are, and he's being honest with his answer, because we've had discussions about this. If Brandon, let's say, is gonna pay 8%, right? And remember, he paid cash for the house. And let's say his mortgage is gonna be $700. Some people would say, well, I don't want that $700 bill. But now Brandon's going to have the opportunity to, remember, he's getting $1,100 a month rent. So even if he's not making a lot of passive income because of the rent, he's still going to walk away with that lump sum. We could take that lump sum and buy him another rental. So now the same money that he put into one is now getting him two. And then we could pull equity from that. And then he can get his third and pull equity from that. And then before you know it, 100 here, 100 here, 100 here, 100 here, he's taking home 1,000, 2,000 in passive, but he still has a lump sum and he owns $1 million or $2 million in property. So it's about playing the game. It's about staying diligent and not so much worrying about the interest rates. I think I take right now my strategy is to buy rentals. I've been taking mortgages like every 2 weeks because all my properties I own cash. But I've been pulling out the money because I'm getting all that money back and I'm reinvesting it because rentals are going to be cheap because nobody's buying. So I get to lowball people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to end up with a tremendous amount of more rentals. Whereas when the market was hot, I got rid of most of my rentals to take money to flip so I could have a nest egg for this time. So we're always playing with the next strategy is. So I wouldn't be worried about paying 8% when I can make 50 or 60% of my money in a year.
All right. And
Right.
especially that equity that you can fall back on. That's just right there, it's just building up. And just say what 5 months that appraised value came at 120 and I bought it for 75 from you guys. And that was a big come up with that. So I didn't care about the interest rate. I pretty much put out all the money that I can get out of it, which is initially how much I put into it. And I got about 40K just slowly building up over time. So that was a win for me. So interest rate really didn't play so much of a big thing with this deal.
Exactly. And let me add to that. It's not that you only are going to pull out 40. he gets the 75 that he put in too.
Yep.
So he's gonna get the 75 and then additional, it's the profit.
Crazy.
Right. In a couple of months.
Right.
And this is not a knock. This is not a knock. This is just to show people how easy it is if you start to play the game. Most people don't clear net after taxes and FICA. They don't clear 40,000 in a year. He cleared 40,000 just by signing a contract, and then he's getting the 75K back. So now that's the 115 or so that he can now go and with the 20% rule, which I'm not going to go off on a tangent right now. We could get Brandon 5 or 6 rental properties in the next month, just because of the first deal setting him up. So I want to thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing a bit of your story. Shout out any links, anything like that. This is your time, and I'm gonna make sure we get you some of that protein. And I thank you for being an inaugural caller.
No, I appreciate you. Yeah, so you can follow me at agent.farley on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as well. That's pretty much it, man. Thank you, Hussain. Hopefully we can do this on a computer next time. That was kind of bugging me out, but I'm glad we can get here.
Yeah, no doubt. So, Nova, if you could just share out his link, so if anybody wants to follow him, then we could do that. And then, we'll talk to you again, Brandon. Peace.
All right. Appreciate you.